Hello everyone and welcome to the Music Professor channel. I'm here with Loki, who's helping me present this episode about Pérotin, Pérotin the Great, who's probably the first modern composer in the sense of modern as in he was actually living and working in the late 1100s. In other words, incredibly long time ago, nearly 1,000 years ago. And just to give you a little bit of context, he was living in Paris. We don't know very much about him, but it seems as if he was writing music for the Notre Dame cathedral, the wonderful Notre Dame, which has recently been reopened after a historically terrible fire and is one of the great cultural monuments in France. But in the 1100s, it was built in the 1100s. They started work there in around 1160. So when Pérotin was composing music, it was still a brand new cathedral. I mean, absolutely brand new. It was still under construction, in fact. Parts of it had been built, parts of it hadn't. The Bishop of Paris was this guy called Eudes, or Odo, Bishop Odo of Paris. And by all accounts, he was a bit of an idiot. He was one of these people who was constantly issuing executive orders of various ridiculous orders. So, for example, he banned chess. He excommunicated people for doing various things, usually anti-Semitic stuff about not communicating the gospel with Jews. There's one extraordinary thing about how Christians were forbidden to eat grape skins that had been crushed by Jews. I mean, unbelievable nonsense. And he was also responsible for, I said about banning chess, he also, he also banned something called the Feast of Fools, which was this sort of funny thing where everyone made fun of the clergy and dressed up in clergy clothes, and that was banned. You know, you weren't allowed to have fun in church. So all these weird things. And one thing that he did do that I guess wasn't idiotic was he promoted a new kind of music. Which he wanted for special feast days. He was particularly concerned about Christmas. And it seems as if this amazing piece, Viderunt Omnes, was written by Pérotin for some kind of Christmas event, possibly the Feast of Circumcision. So this absolutely amazing thing was composed. Now, why is it amazing? It's the first example of music that is in 4 parts. So up to that time, music had tended to consist of Gregorian chant or Gregorian chant with one other part. So Pérotin the Great, or Perotinus Magister, Perotinus, it sounds like it's the Latin, possibly his name was Pierre. So he was a French official in the church who was required to compose music. He'd inherited the role from another amazing guy called Léonin. Now, okay, let me explain something about how music worked in those days. There wasn't really any harmony in the sense that we know it today. So what you tended to find was monks would sing these beautiful Gregorian chants. So the chant in this case is Viderunt Omnes, which is a Christmas gradual. Viderunt Omnes means all the ends of the earth. So the chant is actually all the ends of the earth have seen the salvation of our God, which in Latin, so I'm looking at my computer, Viderunt Omnes fines terrae salutare Dei nostri is the Latin. So you have this thing, and the chant goes, Viderunt Omnes. So what you would normally have had with monks would have sang that as a group. What started to happen at some point, you know, we're going back to say the 600-700 AD, that period, is that people would sing these beautiful melodies, free melodies, Gregorian chants, and they would add, sometimes add a 4th or a 5th above it. So you get this sort of thing. the fifths. So you'd get these parallel fifths moving around, and as soon as I do that, of course, music's amazing. It's like a kind of time machine. You're transported back into another era. Let's just listen to the chant in its original form. So what Pérotin did, and this is really marvellous, is he took these notes and he stretched them out over vast periods of time. And this is why Pérotin's really important to contemporary composers, particularly to minimalist composers. Steve Reich has talked about his admiration for Pérotin. We'll listen to what he said.
Pérotin is the master of slow, enormously elongated harmonic rhythm. And there's no bass, but the tenor becomes the anchor, the tone that you're going to be in. So it's very, very markedly contemporary sounding. But people find it attractive, and they can, they don't have to think about why, but it's just beautiful music.
The extraordinary thing is the way that Pérotin would take the notes of the chant, spin them out for a long period of time. So for example, you get the first note, the V with the vowel, the E sound. Then when you get to the da, you get da, a change of the vowel. So the colour of the sound changes at this point. And then the third note, ru, so you get a oo sound on that. So you have these drones which result from slowing the chant right down. So the viderunt becomes V for ages, and then da, and then ru. So do you see how that works? You've got these long drones made out of the notes of the chant, as if the chant has become incredibly like slow motion. Then in the middle of the motet, you get this bit where it goes da 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 da. You see the notes moving around much more quickly. You'll see this in a minute when I and the other versions of myself try and sing this. And then the last note sustains for a very long time, so it becomes another drone. So the chant is sort of turned into very slow notes. 4 of the notes form long, long drones, and then the little bit in the middle of the chant moves around a little bit quicker. Over the top of this, you've got 3 parts. So this is called the tenor, the Gregorian chant, and then over the top, you have what is in effect an embellished organum. So organum is that effect of having a fifth moving around, but instead of just moving in this plain way, you get this sort of thing. That's a kind of bad rendering, but a sort of embellished, what they would have called an embellished organum. Where the voices above are moving around in a kind of wonderful dancing rhythm. And this is the other thing, it's the first time when a composer used a kind of metrical notation to get that feeling of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, these sort of triplet rhythm, a kind of swung rhythm, as the voices move around in their different counterpoints above the very, very slow Gregorian chant. So you've got this extraordinary counterpoint of 3 upper voices moving around the anchor of the lower voice on the chant. And these upper voices, I mean, the counterpoint is not at all like the more modern rules of counterpoint. You get all sorts of weird harmonies resulting from strange dissonances, marvellous sort of modern sounding chords. It's all really extraordinary, and it sounds absolutely cool, and in a weird way, both fabulously ancient and also kind of wonderfully fresh and modern. Amazing music. I first heard this piece when I was about 14, maybe I was less than that, 13, in my early teens, and I was amazed. I heard a recording by the great David Munrow, fabulous early music specialist of the 1970s, a British early music specialist who could play anything. He used to play recorders, he used to play shawms, he could play anything. It was absolutely astonishing, and he was a tremendous presenter. He was on the TV a lot, and here's an example.
Anyway, the Crusaders managed to capture some of these strange new instruments and brought them back home to Europe, where they remained in use for over 500 years. Still out of doors, of course.
So a fabulously charismatic performer and communicator, and then tragically he ended his own life in the mid-70s, which was just it was an absolute catastrophe for the early music community. And his memory kind of lives on in a way, because his recordings are still great to listen to. I've put a link below in the video description to the David Munrow version that switched me onto this piece when I was much younger. Because you hear this thing and suddenly you're transported into another world. You know, the time machine takes you back to the 1190s, and there you are in Notre Dame, hearing this fabulous music as if the angels are singing. It's really incredible. So without more ado, here am I, and this is not as good as David Munrow's recording, but it is at least me having a crack at singing this music, and hopefully it won't be too disastrous. Multiple versions of me. Forgive the fact that I'm really not a singer, and there will be some intonation issues, but in a curious way that may be slightly authentic, in that who knows what the original performances of this music were like. Perhaps the monks who sang it were as ropey as I am. Anyway, this is my version. Enjoy. Oh, and before we put it on, please like and subscribe to the video. If you like the content in these little films on the Music Professor channel, please consider donating, and there are details of how to donate below. We're just a little channel, and we're very keen to continue delivering the kind of content that we do. If you like what we do, please consider supporting the channel. Thank you very much.